This is a demonstration video to showcase some of the more powerful aspects of the AI in our upcoming simulation game, Outer Colony. There's going to be a ton of topics that we'll touch on over the course of this video, but we're going to focus on putting NPCs into a sort of extreme situation where they're forced to make really difficult moral judgments. And hopefully by showing how they can arrive at the decisions they do, it'll give an idea for why the AI in Outer Colony is different from what you get in most games, and why it represents something of a quantum leap from a technical standpoint beyond what you can get with traditional approaches like finite state machines or script-centric AI systems. These NPCs can do a lot more, and hopefully this'll give a view of that. What we have here is a medium-sized colony. Right now the population is somewhere between 45 and 50. It's fairly built up. Everybody's got enough food, water, basic needs are met. I have a minor military presence. Right now I've got 2 fire teams that are reasonably well trained and equipped, and I've got a third that's a scratch unit that I just threw together. They're all but useless, as they have very limited combat capabilities, but they're just going to hang back with the rest of the civilian NPCs once this raid kicks off. The 2 fire teams are assigned to defensive fire positions, one here and one here. These are dug-in areas right around a low wall that surrounds the expedition. And what's about to happen is a pretty sizable raid from an enemy faction is going to come in from the south. And when I say pretty sizable, it's going to be 2 full platoons. So the military situation is going to be all but hopeless. These guys are going to get overwhelmed, but this is going to put the NPCs into a very difficult situation where they have to make hard decisions that lean on all the aspects of our human behavior modeling system. So it's going to kick off here in just a minute, and we'll see it play out. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in, focus on the area where the better part of the confrontation is going to happen at first. We're going to be looking at these 2 defensive fire positions. I know that the raiders are coming in from the south. So I'm going to sound a general alarm, which is going to cause the 2 fire teams to report to their designated positions, and then the combat is going to play out. Before this kicks off, just a quick note on combat. There are no health bars, no hit points, nothing like that in Outer Colony. Everything is energies and materials, and a bullet conveys enough energy to rip through the materials that make up a human. So single shots to a person, especially if it hits them in the torso or head, are going to be fatal. The combat has to work a little bit differently than it does in most games. You're going to watch these NPCs coming from the south. The attackers are going to execute a classic fire and movement maneuver, where some of the NPCs are going to start to suppress the targets in these defensive fire positions. That's going to reduce the situation awareness of the defenders, while other NPCs are going to come in from the side and outflank them, and should kill them like that. And just keep in mind, the reason that human combatants have to behave in this way in Outer Colony is for the same reason that human combatants have to behave this way in real life. It'd be suicidal and ridiculous for 2 people to just walk up to each other with rifles and start shooting like they do in most RTS games. A single bullet will kill you, so that wouldn't make any sense. For the same reasons that humans have to employ infantry tactics in the real world, they have to do it here. The eyes are located on the front of our heads. Peripheral vision is not so good for humans, so getting in on the side of a confused enemy is an easy way to overwhelm them. So we'll sound our alarm and let this play out. It's worth noting that when the alarm gets sounded, all of the civilian NPCs are going to report to a designated safe area. We'll take a look down here. We've got our 2 shuttles of raiders incoming. If we look at the interiors of the shuttles, we can see that each is full of a full platoon of Kelgonian infantrymen. These guys are fairly well trained for the sake of this demonstration, and they will probably make pretty quick work of our defenders. Our guys have reported their positions here. It's about to play out. You'll see these first guys are going to be directing suppressing fire at the positions up there. You can just see barely down here in the corner of the screen some of the flankers starting to get into position to make their maneuvers. We'll watch it play out. Here come the flankers. They roll up this side, and these guys are about to get killed too. Now you'll see that something interesting did happen here. One of these guys, one of our defenders, broke off, and he's bolting. process of this engagement. So why is he doing that? Again, this goes back to the comprehensive way that human behavior is modeled in Outer Colony, and you can check out all this stuff on the website, but they're built to behave more like people would in real life. What happened down there, he assessed that the military situation was completely untenable, he saw everybody getting killed, and for whatever reason, he freaked out. Fear is a very important emotion to people in the real world. It's something that people in the real world deal with in combat situations, and it's something that they deal with in Outer Colony. So let's take a look at this guy's information and see if we can't figure out what he's doing. So we'll open up the metrics for him, and we'll see what his current fear data is. Alright, you can see that he is clearly freaked out in an extreme manner. This is a graph that shows his current fear of various outcomes, and you can check out the article on the website to explain how fear is modeled in Outer Colony. But fear is basically the anticipation of some sort of likely loss. And this is part of how the NPCs do projection. It's not just that they're aware of the environment around them, it's that they're also projecting what's probably going to happen in the future and making decisions based off that. So, based on this guy's value system, we can see that he's somewhat afraid of death, somewhat afraid of capture, somewhat afraid of dishonor. He is terrified for the sake of his family. And so much goes into this decision-making process and how his fear is calculated in this way. But if we just take a quick look at some of his personality data, this might help us make sense of it. You can see that he is a very loyal person. He's at 2 standard deviations beyond normal in terms of his loyalty personality trait. He's pretty smart. He's pretty compassionate. Let's take a look at his social network. He does have a wife that he loves and a couple of children. And let's just take a look at one more metric. We'll look at his current culture views for the enemy that he's fighting against. Now, this NPC belongs to a culture called the Sertians, and they're up against a culture called the Kelgonians in this particular engagement. If we look at his current culture views, the way that he perceives the Kelgonians is as being extremely brutal, fairly degenerate, and based on this perception, he's anticipating that should they lose in battle, which he had determined that they basically had, the enemy is going to probably inflict a fate worse than death on the people that are left, which is to say that he's anticipating that they're going to commit atrocities. So what has he decided to do? He took off, he bolted from his DFP before the rest of the people he was fighting with were dead, and he is now making his way to his family members in order to execute them and spare them, again, what he perceives as a fate worse than death. So this is a pretty complex moral judgment for the AI to make. And it's a difficult question to answer. What's the right thing to do here? I mean, it sounds pretty crazy, but would you want the people that you care about to be enslaved, brutalized, worse? That's the kind of call that this NPC has to make. And it does so in a way that's designed to emulate human behavior in the real life. So, let's just watch the rest of this play out. He's making his way into the safe area. And you can see here over in the event data that he has mercy killed his wife, and then he killed himself. So, you can see the Kelgonian troops are making their way to where everybody is, and what's going to play out is pretty dark. People are all going to run away. They probably are going to decide to start just killing people. Yeah. So now they're going to run around and commit atrocities, and it's going to be pretty grim. So, what's the point of this? The purpose of this video is to demonstrate some of the more advanced decision-making that the AI is capable of, and again, I think that this represents a quantum leap beyond what, forget about other just games, any kind of software, be it training, simulation-based, what any other sort of AI can do. These NPCs are making very complicated decisions. They are drawing on all sorts of aspects of the way that we model humans in Outer Colony in order to do so. Everything feeds into this. You saw culture views, personality, Every NPC has a vast wealth of experience. If we look at what's going on in the combat log here, so we'll just bring up the global combat log. Let's see if we can bring it up if it's still available. Oh, it's scrolled off the list of events here. But if you look at what happens in combat, the way that it works in Outer Colony, you'll see that it's pretty horrible. You know, these NPCs are witnessing foul things. People are getting shot in the torso. They're being disemboweled. Craniums are disintegrating as bullets rip through them. It's foul. It's dark. That's what this NPC saw. It freaked him out. It drove his fear up to a level where it overwhelmed his goal selection process, and this is what he decided to do. It's not scripted to work like this. This is the important thing to keep in mind. Nothing in Outer Colony is scripted. These decisions are made because the NPCs have an understanding of what the states are that can be achieved in the world and what actions lead to those states. How does this combatant decide that he has to execute his wife and then kill himself? Well, he knows that if she's dead, that state precludes her being captured, enslaved, or brutalized. And again, he makes that decision based on his own value system. He's a part of a culture that in Outer Colony is called the Sertians. They assign a fairly low value to human life, and again, he perceives his enemy as being extremely brutal. So that's why he makes the decision that he made. So hopefully this was fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to play. You can do all kind of interesting things with the AI of the NPCs that you have in this game. You can influence it in all kind of different ways, and you can watch these little guys behave as close an approximation as real human behavior as we can get. So again, hopefully this was fun to watch, and if there are any points that are touched on here, again, it's kind of overwhelming. There's so much more depth to all of these little subsystems that we've discussed. Check out the website, read all the articles, and get a look for yourself at the demo when it becomes available. Thanks for watching.